Hi, this short video is going to focus on yet another portion of 1-9 Fact Inquiry into Teaching and Learning. We're on this page for haiku, and we're going to scroll down to where we find a listing of the documents that allow us to document our process through our inquiry. We've seen this listing before. At a previous time, we focused on C-2 essential components. For this short video, we're going to focus on two different pieces of information: our entry-level assessment, which is C-3, and C-4, our focus students. Notice that on this page, we're given some instructions. We will also find these on our document, but this is yet another place where we're reminded to insert student work and to understand the expectations for these two documents. Once again, this is our fact verification for our inquiry. We have our forms and our expectations, and once again we're reminded to insert student work samples for the three focus students. So we're going to scroll down. We're going to pass the IIP, which we've discussed, the essential components, which have been completed prior to the beginning of your inquiry, and now we're going to come to entry-level assessment C-3 Part 1. Notice the directions. To understand the range of learners in your class, give an entry-level assessment to your students. This is the same entry level that you described in your essential components C-2. Collect the student responses and follow the process of analysis below. Attach a copy of the entry-level assessment and scoring guide for each focus student. The directions here say sort the student responses into two categories: those who scored below grade level or IEP expectations, and the students who scored above. You then want to break them down further. Remember, we're not scoring the students, we're scoring their student work, and this is prior to any instruction in this particular content, knowledge, or skills and abilities. So you can choose whatever criteria you want that you say is not met or partially met based upon your entry-level assessment. We're going to use a very basic example, but I think it will exemplify for you what it is we're talking about. Here's a very straightforward example of what we might see. I simply made a chart that mirrors the not met, partially met, met, and exceeds expectations. And what we're going to do is, after we provide the entry-level assessment to our students, we're going to score these. We're going to score them exactly the same way as we will on our summative assessment. We can only compare student responses and where their responses fall if we use the same essential assessment and the same scoring guide. So we would expect that the majority of our students would not know the information or be able to display the skills that we'll be working with them on during this lesson series. So here we have an example. This particular teacher said, I'm going to give an entry-level assessment worth 20 points in this example. And 0 to 5 is not met, 6 to 10 is partially met, 11 to 15 is met, 16 to 20 is exceeds. This is just a very basic example in order to show you what it is we're talking about. We would expect that the vast majority of our students don't yet know the information or haven't developed the skill. So we're going to assume that perhaps this is the range in which responses fall. The purpose of this is not even really to grade our students. Whether or not the students ever see this grade, this is for our work. This is so we know where our students start and what they're able to do before we go through the lesson series. Now suppose as a teacher I give an entry-level assessment and this is what I see as my results. I need to ask myself some very important questions. If all of my students have met or exceeds the expectation, is that clearly where I want to spend a great deal of time in hoping to move them forward? Or are there other areas and objectives that I may have where my students need a great deal more support and help? Perhaps then I need to go back and relook at what are my learning objectives and what is it that I'm assessing, and how will I now develop the strategies that I will use to move my students forward. This then is where we give descriptions. This isn't about the specific students we have in our class who have scored not met, But what does this tell us? Students who scored in the not met category, what is it that they're able to do and not yet able to do towards our learning objectives? Those who scored in the partially met category, same is true. What are they able to do, but what are they not yet able to do? Same with met and same with exceeds. We complete this regardless of whether we have particular students in these specific categories. The reason is we want to have a very clear picture at every level of what our students know or are able to do based upon our learning objectives. There's a series of questions then about how we will intervene for students in particular categories or differentiate instruction. We then are going to select 3 students. In reality, we're going to identify 6 of them. Focus student 1 is an English learner, 2 is a special population student, and focus student 3 is a student of our choice. This may be a student who scores rather high, because what we're going to do is while we look at all the work for all of our students, we want to know how are we supporting a student who is an English language learner? Are we able to move them forward in their learning? How about a special population student? So here, focus student 1, we fill in the name. We have an alternate in case a student drops out or becomes ill and is not available to us as we move forward in the inquiry. You'll see here focus student 2 and focus student 3. Remember, we're prompted numerous times to make sure that we include the specific entry-level assessment for these 3 students. We then have specific questions. Describe instructional or behavioral considerations for each focus student. So I'm going to list the name and then clearly what support resources do I anticipate this student will need. This allows me to really think through, based upon where this student scored on the entry-level assessment and what I know about this student, what are the support and structures that I'm going to put into place as this inquiry continues to unfold. These are the essential pieces of your entry-level assessment and your focus student information. Your conversations with your support provider will be those that are most critical as you develop your assessment and really look at what is meeting expectations, not meeting expectations, etc. Thank you.